Next, we have Introduction to Risk Management EOC questions. Question number 1. Risk management in the case of individuals is best described as concerned with hedging risk exposure that is normally done by the corporations. We're talking about individuals. For individuals, risk management can best be described as maximizing utility, that is satisfaction, while bearing a tolerable level of risk. Perfect. That's from an individual's perspective of risk management. Maximizing utility while avoiding exposure to undesirable risks. That the statement is fundamentally flawed. When you maximize utility, you can't avoid exposure. Question number 2. Which of the following may be controlled by an investor? Risk. Many decision makers focus on return, which is not something that we can control, but risk is something that can be controlled, that can be managed. We have many responses to risk which we just saw. So look no further. This is something that is controllable. The process of risk management includes minimizing risk, maximizing returns, defining and measuring risk being given. Yes, risk need to be defined, risk need to be measured so as to be consistent with the organization's chosen level of risk tolerance, and then accordingly target for returns or other outcomes. This comes later. So defining and measuring risk being taken, this is the process for risk management, not just minimizing risk or maximizing return. Next is risk governance. Risk governance aligns risk management activities with the overall goal of the organization. Absolutely correct. This is the correct option. So risk governance basically is the top-down process that defines risk tolerance, how much risk we are willing to take. It provides risk oversight and guidance to align risk with the overall goal of the organization. So that's the correct option. The factors a risk management framework should address include all of the following, except it involves communication. Yes. It involves policies and processes. Let me show you. See, so here we have the communication. Here we have the policies and processes. So what we don't have is C. That is names of responsible individuals. That's not specified this way, right? So yes, we may refer to people and systems required for our risk management process, but we don't have to give their actual names of those who are the responsible persons. So this is incorrect. Which of the following is the correct sequence of events for risk governance and management that focuses on the enterprise level, entire enterprise? First, establishing the risk tolerance, then risk budgeting, and then the risk exposure. This is the right sequence. So B is incorrect because exposure comes later and risk budgeting comes after the tolerance. So that makes A to be the correct option. Which of the following best describes activities that are supported by a risk management infrastructure? Right. The question is, which of the following best described activities that are supported by a risk management infrastructure? Risk tolerance? No. Risk budgeting? No. Risk reporting? No. Risk tolerance? No. Risk measurement? Yes. Risk monitoring? Yes. So it's risk identification. That's the part of your risk management infrastructure. Measurement and monitoring. This is the part of your, let me show you. See, all these are part of your risk management infrastructure. Risk identification, risk measurement, risk monitoring, and communication and reporting, right? So that makes C to be the correct option. Effective risk governance in an enterprise provides guidance on all of the following except. It provides guidance on unacceptable risks, which risks we can't take, worst losses that may be tolerated, specific methods to mitigate risk for each subsidiary in the enterprise. Now, this is not correct. Risk governance is not about specifying methods to reduce risk. Rather, it is about establishing an appropriate level of risk for the overall enterprise. Right? Specifics of dealing with individual risk is fall under the risk management and the risk infrastructure framework, right? Not the risk governance. So that makes C to be the correct option. Next, a firm's risk management committee would be expected to do all of the following except approving the governing body's proposed risk policies. Let us move in the reverse order. Providing top decision makers with the forum for considering risk management issues. Yes, this is expected to be done. This is what the risk management committee is expected to do. Deliberating the governing body's risk policies at the operational level. Yes, this is what the risk management committee is expected to do. But approving the governing body's proposed risk policies, this is beyond its mandate. Risk management committee is a part of risk governance structure at an operational level, so it does not approve the governing body policy. So this is incorrect. Once an enterprise risk tolerance is determined, how much risk we are willing to take on, the role of risk management is to do what? Analyze risk driver. This has already been done. Align risk exposure with risk appetite. How much risk the firm is capable to take. Correct. When risk tolerance has been established, the risk framework should be focused on measuring, managing the risk and aligning the risk to the appropriate risk appetite level. This is the right option. B is the right answer. Which factors should most affect the company's ability to tolerate risk? A stable market environment, it may affect risk tolerance, but it should not. The belief of the individual board members, again, the beliefs of board members, it may affect risk tolerance, but it should not. What should most affect the company's ability to tolerate risk is the ability to dynamically respond to adverse events. If the company has the ability to quickly adapt to adverse events, then this will allow the firm to take on more risk, higher risk level. So it, in other words, will increase your risk tolerance. So that makes C to be the correct option. Risk budgeting includes all of the following except it involves allocating a portfolio by some risk characteristics of the investment. True. Yes, it does. It includes quantifying tolerable risk by specific matrix. True. But what it doesn't include is determining the target return. Risk budgeting does not determine the target return. Rather, it quantifies the risk that we can tolerate by specific measure. So that makes A to be the correct option. A benefit of risk budgeting is that it reduces uncertainty facing the firm. It doesn't. Uncertainty is not in your control. It establishes firm's risk tolerance. Risk budgeting is based upon risk tolerance. Rather, it doesn't determine the risk tolerance. Incorrect. Yes, risk budgeting considers the risk trade-offs. Remember, the process of risk budgeting, it will force the firm to consider risk trade-offs, because risk and return, they are correlated. So as a result, a firm should choose to invest where the returns per unit of risk is the highest. Means you get the highest return per unit of risk. So this is what we need to maximize. Highest return per risk. So that makes A to be the correct option. Which of the following risk is best described as financial risk? Credit risk is financial risk. Solvency is non-financial. Operational, again, is non-financial. We discussed this in our detailed LOS. Liquidity risk is most associated with the difference between what the price you want to sell at but the price you actually receive. It's a widening gap between the bid and ask price. This is basically what you call the transaction cost risk. Right? That's B. Next. Sorry. An example of non-financial risk. Settlement is non-financial risk. Liquidity risk is financial risk. Market risk is financial risk. But settlement risk is non-financial risk. A company has a one-day 5% value at risk of 1 million. What does it mean? From your earlier studies, you would know from quant, it means that 5% of the time the firm is expected to lose at least 1 million in one day. Look no further. That's A. An organization choosing to accept risk exposure may buy insurance wrong. That is risk transfer. That is risk transfer. Enter into a derivative contract. That is risk shifting, or called risk mitigation. Right? Risk acceptance is basically self-insurance. You take on what you think you can manage risk yourself. This is called self-insurance. So establishing a reserve fund to cover losses and managing risk yourself, this is called self-insurance. Then the choice of risk modification method is based on what? Minimizing risk at lowest cost. We don't just want to minimize risk, we want to earn as high return as possible per unit of risk. So it's not that we just want to minimize risk, we want to maximize the return per unit of risk. This is incorrect. Maximizing return at the lowest cost, not necessarily return per unit of risk. So weighing costs versus benefits in light of the organization risk tolerance. Some risks we can avoid, some risks we should accept, some we should transfer, and some risk could be shifted, called risk reduction. So none of these is the best. We remember risk avoidance, risk transfer, risk shifting, and risk acceptance. So they are not just the modifications in their own right. We have to compare these risk responses, risk modifications, in light with the cost versus benefit. So there is always some cost of risk avoidance and some benefit. Cost of risk transfer versus benefit of risk transfer. Cost of risk shifting versus benefit, and cost of risk acceptance versus. So it's all about cost versus benefit. And it's done in light of the organization tolerance. So it's not that which modification is the best. It depends upon the cost-benefit trade-off. So that makes C to be the correct option.